Oh wow, check that out. I don't think I'll bleed out or anything. Oh my gosh, that was insane. Hey, what's up my friends, and welcome back to my kitchen. In this video, we're going to test 6 personal blenders, each one making significant claims about their performance. But are they true? We are gonna push these blenders to their limits. We're gonna crush ice, make smoothies, make green juice drinks, and nut butter. We're also gonna test and compare the noise that each one of these blenders makes and how simple or complicated they are to clean. And the best part is we're gonna score each and every one of these tests 1 through 5, and the one with the highest score will be crowned King Personal Blender. So if you're wondering which personal blender to buy, or maybe even looking at upgrading your personal blender, you're in the right place. Before we go any further, I want you to know that I spent my own money on each and every one of these blenders so that I can be fair and balanced in this test. I've also linked to all of these blenders in the description below. If you use those links to buy, it throws me a couple bucks at no extra cost to you, helps me support the channel, so thank you so much for doing that. And if this video is at all helpful for you, please hit that like button and the subscribe button. All right, my friends, let's get down to business. Let's meet the contenders. On your far left, we have the Magic Bullet. This is a 16 ounce max 250 watt personal blender. Next in the lineup, we have the Ninja Fit, 16 ounce max 700 watt motor. Next, we have the brand new Ninja Blend Boss. This is a brand new product from Ninja with a unique design where the actual blending cup is a handled tumbler. There are some advantages and disadvantages to that we're gonna show you in this video. The Ninja Blend Boss is a 24 ounce max cup with a 1200 watt motor. The Ninja Boss also has Auto IQ built into it, where there's presets on the motor base, and they sense whatever it is that you have in the blender and adjust the speed and time and pulsating according to what it senses is in there and how blended it is. Next in the lineup, we have the NutriBullet. This is a 24 ounce max cup with a 600 watt motor. Next in the lineup is one that you probably won't recognize, and I'm definitely not gonna be able to pronounce correctly. It's something like the Koios. The reason that I included this blender in the lineup is because it's among one of the most popular, lesser known name brand blenders, and I really wanted to see how it stacked up to these bigger name brands. The Koios is a 16 ounce cup with a 900 watt motor. Now finally, we have the Big Daddy with the biggest name possible. This is the Ninja Professional Plus Nutri-Blender Pro. Yes, that's the entire name. From here on out, I'm gonna be lovingly referring to it as the NPP NBP. This blender also comes with built-in Auto IQ, featuring 4 presets. It has a 24 ounce cup and an 1100 watt motor. And without wasting any more time, let's get into the tests. All right, so our first test is the ice crush test. We wanna see if we can take solid ice cubes and turn them into snow. So I've got about a cup of ice cubes here. I'm gonna pour them into the bullet cup. We're gonna attach the blade. We've also got our decibel meter ready to measure how loud this thing actually is. I'm gonna set a timer to see how long it takes us to make this into a snow consistency. Ready, set, go. Okay, so I've pulsed it, I've shaked it. There's nothing really else I can do to get this thing to chop up the ice, and it's very clear even before I open this that it chopped very little bit of this ice up. We also had a max decibels of 103.4 coming off of this machine. It's very loud. And the time doesn't even really matter because we never got to that snow consistency. So around the rim here, we've got a little bit of chopped ice. It's gonna hold its shape as I pull it out, and obviously really large chunks of ice, but there's just no way to get the rest of that ice down in there to get it to chop up. And we're still mostly large chunks of ice. Next in the ice crust test is the Ninja Fit. So our max decibels hit with the blender in the ice crust test was 98.3 decibels. Let's go ahead and take a look at this ice, but it looks like it did a fairly good job at blending this ice up into something that was snow-like. But look at this, this is very well crushed. There aren't any chunks anywhere inside of this. I mean, it did pack a little bit together, but once you put that in some kind of liquid or put some kind of liquid on it, it would break up pretty nicely. A lot of the stuff up towards the top is really fine and crushed really well. Perfect for making a snowball. Next in the ice crush test is the Ninja Blend Boss. For the Blend Boss, I'm going to use the Ice Crush IQ setting. Here we go. All right, 56 seconds. That ran way too long. It was doing nothing for about the last 20 seconds of that. Also, the max decibels was 98.4. Oh, wow. Check that out. That's pretty cool. It's very compacted, but it seems to be chopped really well. Very fine, no hard chunks, just a little bit packed around the blade. Like I said, ooh, just got cut. I don't think I'll bleed out or anything, but those are sharp blades. But the stuff at the top is all light and fluffy. It breaks up pretty easily. Look at that. That is some great ice crush right there. Next for the ice crush test is the NutriBullet. Here we go. So about 30 seconds to complete that test, and our max decibels were 94.1. Let's go ahead and see what it did with this ice. All right, so it all kind of stuck to the blade lid here. We can pour a little bit out there. Everything that we poured out looks really finely blended. It did a fantastic job at breaking down this ice. There are no large chunks anywhere. It's all very snow-like, other than it being a little packed. Great job. All right, next up for the ice test is the Koios. So here we go. Oh my gosh, that was insane. I have never seen anything rattle my kitchen like that before. Give it a go. Maybe I'll put a hand on the bottom here. Uh-oh, it's not working. I broke it in the first go. It definitely smells like it burnt up. There are little shards of plastic all over the countertop. Oh, I got it working again. So I don't want to burn up the motor because I want to continue the tests. Obviously, time isn't going to even be an issue on this thing. This has been a very interesting first test. I'm just going to pulse it a couple more times and hope we don't burn out this motor. All right, that's about it. So on the top, right next to the blade, we've got some pretty well blended ice. As we dump the whole thing out, you can see it still has very large chunks of ice. Also, our max decibels on the ice crush test was 109 decibels. I don't know if some of that was my decibel meter moving around and bouncing and vibrating all over the countertop, because that was absolutely crazy, but that's still really loud. Next for the ice crush is the NPP NBP. We're gonna use the crush setting, and here we go. All right, I'm gonna stop it there at about 38 seconds. This was saying it had 20 more seconds to go, but it's just not doing anything anymore. Those blades are spinning freely in there. I think it's crushed most of the ice. Our top decibels in the ice crush test was 99.7 decibels. Let's go ahead and get this ice out of here, take a look and see what it looks like. Crushed up really nicely, a little packed around the blade. I actually think that's a side effect of it going for longer than it needed to. This breaks up so fine and fluffy. It's very consistent. There are no chunks. This is snow cone worthy right here. The next test I want to do with the Magic Bullet is a simple smoothie test. And this is where we take multiple different kinds of ingredients and see how well they blended together in a nice, smooth consistency. So the order which we're going to put it in is the soft ingredients first. That's the banana and the spinach. Next, we're going to do our sticky ingredients. This is going to be Greek yogurt if you're doing peanut butter or almond butter or something like that. Next is our liquids. So our milk, and then finally our hard frozen ingredients, frozen fruit. Let's see if we can push that down so we can get a couple of ice cubes in there. My guess is that's pretty maxed out for this cup. Let's go ahead and put the lid on. So here we go. All right, let's stop it there at 1 minute. Our max decibels while the Magic Bullet was running was 104.6. I'm gonna tell you, like, the lived experience of 104.6 decibels is it's pretty loud. I almost want earplugs in to run this thing. Let's take a look at our consistency. All right, looks pretty well blended. It's a bit foamy. There are some larger pieces of spinach in the bottom of the cup, and there is also some Greek yogurt still stuck to the side. But all in all, it looks like a pretty good consistency. Everything looks like it's blended well. Let's have a taste. That's a great smoothie in 1 minute of blend time. Next for the smoothie test is the Ninja Fit. All right, here we go. Okay, so we're at 1 minute 20, and I've been continuing to blend it because there's a bit of yogurt still up here in the top of the cup. We could probably get that down just by shaking. We also hit 101.5 decibels. So let's go ahead and check this smoothie out. The pour on it. It does look very smooth. I'm not seeing any chunks at all. Very foamy, very frothy. No small pieces of spinach leaf or anything like that. It's very smooth, zero inconsistencies. That's a great smoothie, actually. Up next in the smoothie test is the Ninja Blend Boss. For this test, we're gonna use the smoothie IQ setting on the Blend Boss. Here we go. All right, 1 minute on the smoothie test. Let's pull this baby out and take a look at it. Looks nice and blended. Let's see as we pour. Great consistency. I don't see any chunks of frozen fruit, spinach pieces. There is a spinach fleck right there, little flake of spinach right there, but that's a fantastic smoothie. Next up for the smoothie test is the NutriBullet, and here we go. All right, I'm gonna call it there at about 45 seconds because this is looking really smooth already. And look what happened. The lid leaked. That's interesting. I'm not quite sure why that happened. Maybe I didn't have it on there tight enough, but that's excellent for you to see in this video because part of cleaning this unit is cleaning the inside because this is inevitably gonna happen to you. And cleaning inside of this could prove to be very difficult. You cannot submerge this in water. So let's take a look at what we have here. Our max decibels with the Nutri-Blend on the smoothie was 94.3. Let's go ahead and pour this out and see how we did. Looks great. I don't see any chunks of anything anywhere. No chunks of ice, no chunks of frozen fruit, no small pieces of spinach leaf. You can't even tell that there's spinach leaf in this. Let's have a taste. That's really good smoothie. It's a little bit more foamy and airy than I like my smoothies to be, which is interesting because we only ran it for 40 seconds. But besides the airiness, it is a fantastic consistency. All right, next for the smoothie test is the Koios. I will never get used to that name. The Koios is next in the smoothie test. And we've got our timer ready to go. Here we go. All right, that's about 1 minute 20. I was watching it to see those little pieces of spinach. And when those little pieces of spinach started to disappear, that's when I decided to actually stop the smoothie. I will say this one has a lot of resistance to push down on, and it got my arm pretty tired holding it for 1 minute 20 seconds. Now our max decibels was 96 on the smoothie test. All right, let's go ahead and check out what we have here. I'm not seeing any large chunks. I can definitely see flecks of spinach pieces. Let's see what we can see with the spoon. Lots of specks of spinach still whole in this smoothie. It's a little bit frothy. Oh, look at that. That's a big piece of spinach right there. Yeah, that's big enough to where it's gonna bother me. Let's go ahead and have a taste. I mean, the taste is amazing. Consistency is great, except for those chunks of spinach. All right, up next for the smoothie test is the NPP-NBP. This time we're gonna use the smoothie setting with the Auto IQ. So here we go. Okay, so it ran for about 50 seconds and our max decibels on the smoothie setting was 97.8. It looks a bit frothy, a bit thicker than what I would think it would look like, but it looks pretty evenly blended. I don't see any large pieces of ice, frozen fruit, or spinach. It's also not over whipped. It doesn't seem overly frothy or foamy, which I can really appreciate. Let's have a taste. Great consistency. I love the content of the ice. This is a fantastic smoothie. The next test that I want to do with you on the Magic Bullet is the nutrient extraction test, or a green juice test. This is where we take fresh and fibrous fruits and vegetables, combine them together to try to get as close as we can to that kind of green juice experience. Now, I'm very aware this is not a juicer, so it's not going to turn out like juice, but I do want to see how closely we can get to that juice experience while still having some of those solids in there. So in this test, we're going to take some spinach, celery, a couple slices of apple, and then 6 ounces of 100% pineapple juice. Here we go. All right, minute 30. Our max noise with the green shake was 95.3. Let's go ahead and pour this out. It's a bit foamy. Oh, I see some chunks coming out. There are some larger chunks of things in here. Oh wow, take a look at that. That's, I'm just gonna see what it is. Larger chunks of apple. Now we ran this thing for 1.5 minutes and it was really foaming up. I wouldn't wanna run it any more longer. Oh, that was apple and celery. Lots of larger chunks of celery and apple. Next on the green juice test, the Ninja Fit. Ready, set, go. All the celery and stuff still stuck here on the top, so I'm just gonna give it a little shake. See if we can get that stuff to come down into the blade. All right, 1 minute, that's pretty good. And the max decibels with the nutrient extraction is 99 decibels. It smells very nutritious. It's pretty foamy. Just by looking at it, I'm not seeing any chunks of things. It does have a little bit of a pasty texture to it. You may be able to get rid of that by going longer and get more of that juice texture, but then it's gonna foam up even more, and I don't think I'm gonna like this being that foamy. But let's have a taste. It's got a really grainy texture to it, like I'm chewing all of the stuff after I've taken a sip. The texture is not my favorite. The taste, however, is actually quite good. Next, for the green juice test is the Ninja Blender Boss. For the green juice test, I'm gonna use the Blend IQ setting. Here we go. All right, so the Blend IQ setting again ran for about 60 seconds. Our max decibels were 93 flat. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. On pour, this looks incredibly smooth. There are no chunks, no spinach pieces. Let's get the spoon in there and just see if we can see anything. Other than the foam, there is just not a lot of substance to it. It's very juicy. Let's take a taste. Very smooth, very finely blended compared to the other blenders. The Blend Boss did a fantastic job in the green juice test. Now the NutriBullet. All right, let's get it started. All right, again, I'm gonna stop it at 45 seconds because I think it's pretty well done, and I don't want it to foam up more than needed. Also, our max decibels was 92.6. It looks really smooth. I mean, most of what you're seeing in the pour is foam. I don't see any chunks of any kind. Nothing in the bottom. All right, let's go ahead and give it a taste. There's definitely some substance to it, of course. We knew that there would be. But for the most part, it's very smooth. Fantastic. All right, next up in the green juice test is the Koios. I got it, Koios. All right, here we go. It's just stopping. And our max decibels on the juice test, it was 91 decibels. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. Right on the pour, I'm noticing some foaming. I'm not seeing any large chunks that weren't blended. This is looking pretty consistent. Let's poke around with the spoon a little bit. Let's have a taste. There are some larger pieces. It's quite gritty. I'm chewing pieces after I take a sip. Up next for the green juice test is the NPP-NBP. For this test, I'm just gonna use the start and stop manual button. I'm gonna run it for 1 minute and I'm gonna see where that gets us to that juice consistency. So, here we go. All right, I lied. I'm gonna run it for 40 seconds because I can already tell this thing is very, very blended. I don't think it's gonna get any more blended. Our max decibels on the green juice test was 94.5, sorry. All right, let's check out this green juice. As I pour, it looks really consistent. I don't see any chunks. I don't see any spinach, apple chunks. Let's have a taste. Honestly, the consistency is a little bit thicker than other personal blenders that I've tested in this green juice test. All right, this is gonna be gross, but I want you to be able to see it, is that there are some chunks of apple in this. Not a big deal, but it didn't do the job. Probably could have gotten rid of those by running it a little bit longer. I don't know if you can see that right there. That's another chunk of apple. So not incredibly consistent. All right, this next test is really gonna push the magic bullet. It's a nut butter test. I've got 135 grams of almonds. These are raw almonds, not toasted. So because they're raw, I also have 20 grams of avocado oil to make sure that we can actually mix those together and get a decent consistency. Now the idea here is to be able to blend these almonds into a nice creamy almond butter. The oil's gonna help. Let's see how it does. Now it's pretty normal when you're making a nut butter to have to scrape the sides a couple times, mix things up. It's a little bit buttered up, but I wanna just move things around. So our max decibels was 101.3. Let's take a look. So we've got a little bit of a semblance of butter here along the edges, but it's extremely inconsistent. We have whole almonds still in there, and those were just getting bounced around and stuck to the side. This is not almond butter at all. This is more like chopped nuts. Next in the nut butter test is the Ninja Fit. All right, so our blade is just spinning freely at about 20 seconds. All right, so we're getting a good butter around the blade, but there is some other larger chunks inside. So let's go ahead and break this stuff down. All right, when I work it with the spatula, you can really start to see how the consistency is. It's pretty consistent actually. There's not any really large chunks that I'm finding. Next in the nut butter test is the Ninja Blend Boss. For this test, I'm not quite sure what setting to use, and the Ninja Blend Boss doesn't have just a simple start, stop manual control. So I'm gonna use the pulse, holding it down and pulsing it using my intuition and watching the almonds to see what they do. Here we go. Scrape the sides down so we can get it moved around a bit, and we'll go again. So our max decibels on the nut butter test is 98.7. Let's have a look. All right, some of this stuff right around the blade is definitely buttered up. There are some sections that are very buttery, blended very well. That would absolutely be spreadable. But then you have other areas, like these edges, that have nearly half or quarter almonds still left. Pretty inconsistent. All right, next for the nut butter test is the NutriBullet. Okay, here we go. Max decibels on the nut butter test is 96.7. Let's pour some of this out and see what we have, which is still pretty chunky. There's still one large chunk of almond right here, almost about a half of an almond, but it's about the only one that I could find. Otherwise, decently consistent, not very finely ground. All right, next on the nut butter test is the Coeos. All right, here we go. And let's go ahead and check it out. I will tell you, I'm smelling some motor burn smell, that's for sure. It did a decent job, better than I thought it was going to do. It's a bit inconsistent, so you've still got large pieces of nut like this right here. A lot of this is blended up pretty finely. Pleasantly surprised, but still pretty inconsistent. It's interesting as I'm tasting this, it's actually hot. Like the motor, the heat coming off of the motor was so hot that it came up through the lid and heated up the nut butter, and that probably actually helped it blend. Next in the nut butter test is the NPP-NBP. So here we go. All right, let's take a look at what we have here. Pour some of this out into the cup. It's pretty thick and it's pretty inconsistent. Even as we pour it out, you can see large chunks of nut. All of the aggregate is still pretty large. And then we have large pieces of nut like this. Maybe if you worked this thing in and out many times over 10 minutes, you could possibly get it there. All of these blenders are very similar in the cleaning process, except for the Ninja Blend Boss. I'll talk more about that in just a second. All the other blenders are easily cleaned. There's really only two parts, the blender lid and the cup that you've used. You can rinse each part with some light scrubbing and some dish detergent. They come clean very easily. Also, each one of these are dishwasher safe in the top shelf of the dishwasher. The cleaning of the Blend Boss is just a little bit more complicated. It is the same in the fact that there is just the two pieces and you can clean them by rinsing them and scrubbing them with a scrub brush and some light dish soap. However, there are some intricate pieces and parts in addition to this cup. The locking mechanism on the lid has a lot of small cracks. You also have the additional locking clip and handle, and not to mention the additional boot on the bottom of the cup. Okay, final score time, 1 to 5. In the ice crush test, the Magic Bullet scored a 1 because it left big chunks. The Ninja Fit scored a 4 due to crushing ice really well with only minor chunk drama. The Ninja Blend Boss scored a 4 as well because it got it super fine, but it was a bit packed down. The NutriBullet scored a 5 due to making legit snow with basically 0 chunks. The Koios scored a 1 because it was chaos loud and decided to quit on me. And the NPP-NBP scored a 5 due to its snow cone ice. In the smoothie tests, the Magic Bullet scored a 3. It blended well, but left some stuff stuck to the sides of the cup. The Ninja Fit scored a 4. It was smooth and consistent with just a little bit of froth. The Blend Boss also scored a 4 because it was super smooth, but you could find tiny flecks if you went hunting. The NutriBullet scored a 5 due to its silky results, and the Koios scored a 3 because it blended, but you could still feel the leafy bits in your mouth. The NPP-NBP scored a 5 because it was thick, smooth, and clean. In the green juice test, the Magic Bullet scored a 2 because, well, you're basically chewing celery. The Ninja Fit scored a 3 due to fewer chunks. The Blend Boss scored a 5 because it came out shockingly smooth. The NutriBullet scored a 4 due to the smooth juice result, but had a good bit of foam. The Koios scored a 2 because it stayed foamy and gritty. The NPP-NBP scored a 4, smooth, but still not totally juice experience. In the nut butter test, the Magic Bullet scored a 1 because it made chopped nuts, not butter. The Ninja Fit scored a 4 due to mostly creamy with a little bit of scraping and patience. The Blend Boss scored a 2 because it was half spreadable and half chunky. The NutriBullet scored a 3 due to a decent texture but still gritty. The Koios scored a 3 because it was surprisingly okay, but not completely consistent. And the NPP-NBP scored a 2 due to staying thick and chunky even with a bit of effort. In the noise test, I've scored them relative to each other. The Magic Bullet scored a 1 because it averaged about 102.1 decibels and was consistently one of the loudest. The Ninja Fit scored a 3, averaging about 98.3 decibels. The Blend Boss scored a 4, averaging about 96.6 decibels. The NutriBullet scored a 5, averaging about 94.4 decibels. The Koios scored a 2, averaging about 98.7 decibels. And the NPP-NBP scored a 3, averaging 97.4 decibels. In the cleaning test, all the blenders scored a 5 because they were super simple to clean and very similar, except the Blend Boss, which scored a 3 because it has nooks and crannies that trap gunk. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for, the totals. The Magic Bullet scored a 13 out of 30. The Ninja Fit scored 23, the Blend Boss scored 22, the NutriBullet scored a whopping 27 out of 30, the Koios scored 16, and the NBP scored 24. To my surprise, the king of personal blenders is the NutriBullet. All right, my friends, I hope this video has been helpful in deciding which personal blender is right for you. As a reminder, I've linked all of these blenders in the description below. If you have any questions, corrections, or requests for other reviews, please put those in the comments. I would love to have a conversation with you there. Please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps me out so much. And happy cooking, or happy blending, my friends. Peace.